Welcome to the... What am I doing? There it is. Look at that. We got 5 people. Right. Let's go. Sorry. Welcome to the 100th episode of Pre-Cana with the Pope. We are appropriately dressed in black because this is the funeral of Pre-Cana with the Pope. Because...
I'm so nervous.
Why are you nervous? So we're going to... No, we're going to record this like a regular podcast.
Okay. Sure.
Let me click the... I didn't even get to finish my joke.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Message all participants. Why isn't it working? There it is. Okay. But so I don't think we officially talked about this yet, but I think after today's episode, after we release this, we switch over to... We're going to make the change, and the podcast will no longer be called Pre-Cana with the Pope. My joke was that we're dressed in black, even though we didn't plan it for the joke. And that we're going to change it to the To Become Family podcast. Again, not because and we kind of shared a little bit about this in the last episode, that like there's just new things coming along that we want to get out there. And it's best to have a consolidated brand. Oh my goodness. Monica she is...
What?
You're nervous.
I am.
Why? So, you know what? I noticed that your threshold for my shenanigans is lower. Oh my goodness. The whole time as I'm prepping, I'm joking, and you're just like...
Just let's get to it. Okay. But yeah, no, I'm nervous, excited.
We're already doing it, so like...
We're here. Here we are.
Yes.
This is it. Yeah, so we're episode 100 of Pre-Cana with the Pope. We did 100 plus some extras in there, but 100 episodes.
You did one extra. Did we? Yeah, we only did one. We did the bonus St. Joseph one.
That's true. And then we had some rewinds, I guess. So it's been more than 100 weeks of episodes.
Yes, and that's why.
But 100 new episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to invite some friends to come on today and chat with us and ask us questions. And
yeah, so if you are in the audience now, we're going to... Monica has no idea what we're doing. So I have a plan in my head of how we're going to go about this.
This is how every podcast is recorded.
Yeah, so this is like a legitimate behind the scenes.
This is how it always goes.
Because honestly, I didn't plan it either. This is just go with the flow. Or with... Never mind, I was going to make a joke. But so we do a couple things. First, I want to listen a little bit to our very first episode as a group, and we can then do a small group after to see how cringy it was. And like on a scale of 1 to Michael Scott at Phyllis's wedding, or Scott's tots. Where is it? So we're gonna talk about that. I want to watch that a little bit, and then we do want to take listener questions. So you could either type them in the chat, or we have a fancy option here that you could actually call in, and then we could FaceTime, for lack of a better term. Like we could FaceTime, web chat, Teams meeting, but we could talk interactively. By just having you call in. So save those questions for a little bit. You can start typing them in the chat now if you'd like. But first I want to be able to go and listen to our very first episode. If you're listening to this episode on Tuesday, after we recorded it and it's released, your loss. Should have put the kids to bed sooner. But maybe we'll do this again if this is exciting.
All right. I'm nervous. So like you listen to all of our episodes a second time because you edit. Mm-hmm. I just show up and talk, and then I don't ever listen to them again.
Really?
So I used to a little bit to get like sound bites from it, but we don't do that anymore. So
you just trust my...
Yep.
Mm-hmm. I would trust me.
So this is... What did we say?
Well, all right. So I'm gonna share that, and you get to watch me. I'm not editing anything today either. So whatever comes out of this is what's coming. As you can see on the screen, we are actually on YouTube now. Oh no! Stop!
It's not listening.
So sorry. So we are actually on YouTube now. We started a YouTube channel. We started a while ago, but like never really committed to it. But now we're putting more things on YouTube, and YouTube.
2024 is the year.
It's the year, and YouTube has just released the ability for us to upload the old episodes to it. So. Like all of our old episodes are on YouTube as well. So if you listen on YouTube and you prefer that, that's where they are. And that makes it easier for us to be able to do what we're doing right now. All right, so let's listen a little bit to it. Let's listen to how I edited it and how you talked.
Just me.
Yes. This is funny because you guys have listened to the music twice. What a good show. She sounds happy. She sounds so happy.
Stop.
Not reading at all.
No. It's unscripted.
Oh, the music. Do you guys even like it? Oh, mid-sentence. Okay, hyperbolic. No, I'm kidding.
That never happened again. The hyperbolic.
I'm perfectly the right amount of bolic. Not.
Can you just? That was like nothing.
No, well, I want to talk about that. So no, I wasn't being hyperbolic. It's funny how Hey, thanks, Saints. Wonder who you are. I'm reading things from the chat too. People who are listening on Tuesday who didn't come. Not offended.
Just keep going.
No, I don't think it was hyperbolic to say that St. Paul saved our marriage. It's just funny that I decided to start that way, and like,
I mean, that's the way you
there was zero banter.
Yeah, that's true.
It was just like,
there was no banter.
Don't get divorced, idiot. No, great. Yes, sir.
That's true. We jumped right in. But
well, we do say that. Let's jump in. We were serious.
And we did.
Stoic Monica.
I mean, you
serious.
have to it's the first episode though, so you need them to get.
Hey, Victoria, thank you. You're supposed to do this.
Oh.
Like respond, like, hey, keep talking. Sorry, I interrupted.
Hi, Victoria. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, but I think maybe it was good that you went right for the point right there. All right, keep going. What else did we say? I don't remember.
Wait. So you know the other thing that's great? We were recording this. This is good behind the scenes. We were recording this in one of the spare bedrooms upstairs.
Oh, that's right.
While friends of ours who maybe are here or not, I don't know if they're sleeping or put their kids to bed.
Press that button, but
I don't want to look.
Okay.
I can't handle it. My heart can't handle who's here. But they were watching our kids downstairs, and we recorded 3 episodes in an hour and a half.
That's right.
Like that was like we got this idea
because your research said that you need to have content, like several episodes of content out for people to decide that they want to listen to your podcast.
Yeah, you
did a lot of research before this.
Yes,
nerd.
I did. I did a lot of research, it's just cool because people, I don't know, you don't get to see a lot of the behind the scenes, but like we wouldn't be able to record or do any get to the point that we're at right now if it wasn't for people supporting us. So like those friends have also been active listeners and giving us feedback.
Yes.
So like it was just cool that they were willing to do that. Like it's just a funny ask.
Yes.
To like, hey, come watch our kids. We're gonna go into the bedroom the windows couldn't open because of the traffic.
Oh yeah.
So it's just hot.
Keep everything quiet, and we were sweating. We were very nervous. Yeah.
Hey, William. Thank you. I'm genuinely grateful.
I am grateful. We just don't sound so authentic.
You sound better than when you read. No, you sound great when you read.
Thank you. Oh.
Keep going. All right, we're only a few more minutes. I love how much you love me. That was authentic. That was an authentic laugh. Haha, my husband's so funny.
I'm nervous. That's not the answer.
No, so, and now from that episode till now, like, how do you think, like, we've done with the mission that we set out to do? Like, we had a specific mission in mind. So yeah, 100 episodes later, like, where do you think we're at?
I feel like we're way more comfortable with...
You're showing it. I love you.
This is new.
It's funny because like I know people are watching and
you're like
don't
acting.
care.
Like,
no, I'm not at all. This is exactly what you get. Tell me I'm different. Tell me I'm different when I'm not on camera.
No, this is really how you are.
So, like,
and I kick you under the table sometimes. Yeah, no, I think that we're way more comfortable. We had a lot of little spats during some of our episodes.
Oh, we used to fight. Yeah. I was rude. I'm sorry. Stop teaching.
Yeah. Just have a conversation. I'm like, I don't listen to podcasts. I don't know what you mean.
Well, you listen to Saints Alive.
We do.
But that's not the same.
That's not the same. That is a lot of acting.
I would.
Very good acting.
It'd be great if you started coming up with different accents. That would.
Nope.
Yep.
But I don't remember what I was saying.
We were fighting.
We argued. Yeah, we argued, and we would have to like pause recording for a while and like take a breather. And then have a conversation and be like, this is what I meant. And now we kind of just like let it go. Like we just keep talking.
Like there was nights that like it would take us 2 hours to record a 45-minute episode.
Yeah.
Hold on. Someone texted to make sure it's not a person saying, what are you guys doing? Can you make your home screen bigger? Thank you. Hey, no, that was old. That was 2 minutes ago.
Oh.
All right. Sorry. I did. Thank you for texting. You could also use the chat. That's why it's there. Sorry. I won't say your name.
Keep going.
But we love you. What was I saying? Oh, so like sometimes a 45 minutes episode would take 2 hours
really
because
long time.
We would be arguing. We would have to pause and go take a walk.
Yeah. I think we felt a lot of pressure, and not that we don't see this as like not that we don't see it as important as it was when we first started, but I think that we've gotten more comfortable that our tone and approach is what people want to like listen to, and it's been helpful in starting conversations at home.
It's funny because our mission was initially, and I think still is, for couples to have conversations with one another. Mm-hmm. Hi, Katie. Katie's here. She wasn't the person that texted me,
but you're welcome.
But so it was good to have, like, we wanted to have people have conversations. We wanted couples to be able to speak about things together, and I think early on we felt like we needed to put a show on in order to make that happen. Mm-hmm. And I think as time went on and we just started having authentic conversations with ourselves,
like, oh, that's how we help,
right? And it's just so like that took a lot of pressure off, and we were able to just focus on like sharing about the struggles we've gone through or ways that we've grown or just anything that we think would be relevant for the audience. Mm-hmm. And then the feedback we got was like, because of the conversations you had, I was able to have this conversation with my spouse, mm-hmm. which to me is a huge win, because we were joking with friends last week. When did we go to Seek? Was it last week? Mm-hmm. Last week we were at Seek. Wow. They were able to have a conversation because of an episode we did together. Yeah. And I was joking. I was like, "Oh, I didn't understand that topic until after baby number 3. So like you're way ahead of me right now.
You got a good head start, yeah." Mm-hmm.
And like that, but like that was the goal, is so that people could, not to gain wisdom from us or anything, but more of like have the conversations we weren't having, right? And avoid a lot of the pitfalls that we did not avoid.
And not that like we have the answers to fix problems or because we're not in your relationship, but maybe just like have some way of prompting that, or like some common like vocabulary and language, like when they said that, this is what I thought of. I don't know, like to just try to like jumpstart that for couples. So I think that mission has been,
and I hope we could still do that. So if you're just jumping on now, we are changing the name of the podcast from Pre-Cana with the Pope to Become Family Podcast after this episode, because we're consolidating brands. Can we announce the thing?
Yeah, we signed.
Let's wait.
Oh,
so people stay on.
Okay.
You got to listen to listen to the end, or maybe like 15 more minutes. I don't know how much longer.
You can hold it.
No. I don't know how much longer my like energy is gonna last. Like, I had an emotional 48 hours. So, what was I saying?
Oh, Emma wants us to announce it.
She can't. I mean, not she can't. We will.
She can't want it.
That's.
You already know.
No, wait. We'll announce it after listener questions. But first, what was I saying?
Mission. Conversation starters.
Oh, we're changing the name.
Okay.
And like I still want to use a lot of JP2 with, especially because like the last episode we had about men just wanting sex all the time. We've gotten nice pushback on Instagram. One account in particular, and it was interesting to get their perspective, and then also go listen to like their content that they put out. And I do think it's important that we stay grounded in good theology, because I thought a lot of their perspective was like, well, men do desire it all the time, and Renzo's just a unicorn. It was basically what they were saying. Like Renzo,
beautiful unicorn.
Yes. Well, that's what. So the term unicorn in basketball, and like when there's like a player who's just like, he's got all the attributes of a good basketball player, like he's super tall, like he can shoot threes, like they'll like, oh, that's a unicorn. Like that's not. It's okay. So like when in the draft they're trying to find the unicorn. Sorry, that's where I got the phrase. So they think that that I just happen to have like superhuman abilities to not desire it all the time. So like they were pushing back on that. And I would like to do an episode at some point breaking down a little bit more of Aquinas with theology of the body and the catechism, and showing that like what's possible for like what the church teaches is possible for freedom in our sexual realm. Yeah. Because I just think it's important, because I don't think that they think that's a possibility. Yeah. And I
beg to differ. And us changing the name we're not changing really what the podcast is doing, because even the name To Become Family is centered in a quote from JP2 in Familiaris Consortio, family become what you are. And then the idea of two become one flesh. So that's where that name came from. So we're really not changing a whole lot. We're just changing the name.
So what I want to do is I want to open up for listener questions. So if you could put questions in the chat or ask to call in, and
then you'll be featured on episode 100.
And if you don't want to, like, you could show you'll be if you're watching this on a laptop, you'll be asked to like give permission for your camera, and then you'll be calling in. We'll see your face. I don't have to keep your face on for YouTube or anything. I could take that out, so it could just be your voice. So just so you know. So put questions in the chat box. If not, Monica and I could just keep talking. So as people are putting things in, one thing I wanted you to kind of talk about is the post that you had this week that had a ton of response.
Yeah. Ooh, good question.
Wait, first your thing.
Oh,
so they could like rack up.
Okay, so we can have a few. Okay.
See, look at this. So you plenty of time now, Julia. Plenty of time.
So one of the things that's been, I don't know, coming up in prayer a lot and on my heart, is the idea of, or the difference between being called out and called up. And part of the reason is I feel like I've been challenged a lot lately in different places, like at the co-op and here, and like going and doing work with you at Seek, which was really cool, but it was out of my norm and things like that, and like getting feedback and adjusting and stuff. And I used to take all like feedback, any criticism, even if it was like constructive criticism, I always took it
like from me during the podcast.
Yes, like all of your corrections during the podcast, because like I always took it as a personal like attack. I always felt defensive because I'm like, but I'm trying my best. Like, doesn't that matter?
I don't know what you want from me.
Yes. I don't know what you're expecting. And it's just like something I've grown to learn and like embrace a little bit, is there's a difference between being called out and being called up, and that in situations, particularly like, and in different relationships, like in a marriage, those kinds of criticisms, those kinds of like callings are more of a call up, because that person knows that you're capable. Like they're willing to challenge you because they love you, they will your good, and so they are calling you up to something greater than where you're at. And that's not to it's not to shame you, but it's to encourage you and support you in that. Whereas being called out is typically more to like catch you and like elicit shame and stuff like that. And I think it's really important within marriages to distinguish that, because when you're having these conversations, dialogues, arguments, conflicts, whatever, that like if you come from this foundation of we're willing each other's good and we're willing the good of the relationship, then really it's a call up instead of a call out. So to work on being less defensive and less shameful.
Right. And being able to call your spouse up can be very healing for that spouse if they're used to, like if they grew up in a home where every time they were, don't look at the question.
Sorry.
I see you. I see you. See, I was calling you up because I know you're capable of
paying attention to one thing. So tempting.
But like if they grew up in a home where they were shamed every time they did something wrong.
Right.
Like we had a boy from our home who broke a window. Broke a window downstairs. And then when I asked him about it, he looked me in the eye and said, "No, it wasn't me."
Yeah.
And then later I go upstairs and his sister says, "It was him. I saw him." And I look at him and he just started crying. So that, like, and it was that for me, it was a very, like, I hate those moments where we talk about core memories a lot on Instagram. People are like, everything's a core memory.
Yeah.
And like one of those situations where like, they are just completely exposed. Like how I respond here will matter to him.
Yes.
He may not remember it, but like it's gonna, like his DNA is gonna change now.
Yeah.
So I had to. I think we handled it really well.
I hope so.
Except for my follow through. I was told him he was going to fix it today. No time. 48 hours. Very stressful. But I like that in our marriage we call each other up, and then that's going to our parenthood as well. Like we're also calling our children up too, and not letting them just feel ashamed. Like John Paul also today like had an issue with when people are watching him. Not like people from outside, like they came to babysit, and
taking care of
and then like calling him up, like you did something wrong, you didn't listen when you were supposed to, and you need to rectify that. And then just him understanding, like, okay, I have to.
Yeah.
So. And
hopefully that like we try to like model that conflict and conflict resolution, that calling up in front of our kids sometimes too. Like it's not like we do this always in private. So hopefully they see us
huff at each other and just like fine.
Do it imperfectly, and then and then that they can see that we really mean it when we're doing it with them, because we've done it with ourselves, or between ourselves, I guess. Hopefully.
All right, you want to look at the questions? All right, fine. Whoa, look at all those questions. Up.
Okay, so this one relates to what we're talking about right now.
How do I go up? I gotta go up.
Okay.
All right. All right, first question. When are we going to release To Become Family merch? Do you have an answer to that? I have a funny story, but you go first. No, you go first.
Okay. So we actually have been talking about that, because we at Seek, we were like, if we had a booth here, what would we give away, sell? I don't know. We don't have it. Like, we have our free podcast. Like, it's just not a booth worthy. So we're kind of talking about some shirts maybe, but also we're working with an Etsy shop who does.
Is that official?
Well, hopefully, if she's listening, keep answering. But yeah, no, she wanted to get like feedback. So we're working on like possibly making some like woodworking, which they're very good with woodworking. Some signs that have the phrase. Like,
let us know what kind of merch is wanted, but Renzo went down a rabbit hole for about a month, started getting t-shirts printed. Like I spent maybe $50 on shirts, and I could not.
Very good.
They weren't good.
So that's why we don't sell them.
the quality wasn't great. The white ones were super see-through. I was a fan of the designs though. Like I don't know. I thought they were okay. But like the black ones that we did, like we were doing black and white, and it was one of them was a Become What You Are shirt. Yeah. Because like we didn't want to do like To Become Family, because like nobody knows what that is. But like if it's like hope, people buy that on Etsy. So like what I did is this was my research. I went on Etsy and I looked up like the most popular shirts in like a bunch of different secular categories, and like saw like what kind of messages they had, how many words they had in it, and then I tried to do something similar.
Yeah. Repeat that.
Yeah, but then the shirts were see-through, and then you could see like where they screen printed. So like when we washed the shirts.
Yeah, so the company we used wasn't gonna work.
No.
So we have to like pre-order them and then sell them from there, I think. Because they were made to order, right? They were like printable.
Yeah, they were made to order. But like that was easier because then like we weren't receiving money until the end. Like they had to buy the shirt, print it, and then once it got delivered, we'd get the money.
Yeah. Anywho.
Not worth it. But so maybe it is. Oh, stickers is a good idea. Maybe we'll do that. But merch is coming. Let us know what you think you'd want. Wait. Okay. Why am I doing this? Okay. How do you balance family and ministry? So for us, sorry, I can't look at the chat for the next one. Balancing family and ministry. Number one, I think we do a really good job of keeping boundaries and remembering that the most important thing that we do is our family.
Yeah.
And that like ministry is secondary to that always. What's nice is that we get to do ministry together.
Yep.
So that like it's never one of us leaving the house and the other staying home.
Yeah.
We both abandon our children equally. So the wounds are on both ends.
Yes. Balanced. That's balanced.
That's balanced. Yeah. but I think keeping in mind that like the most important impact we'll have, and this is also, I don't remind myself of this before giving a talk or something, but none of us remember what speakers say. Like we may remember like a line here and there, maybe, but most of the time like we're like, oh, that was a good talk, that was not a good talk, or like that meeting was great, that wasn't great. But the impact our parents had, like that's something we remember.
Yeah.
So like that's something we always keep in mind, like our family's first. Well, our marriage is first, then our kids, and then if God's calling us to do certain things, like we'll do them. But we are very quick to discern, like if this is not your will, Lord, please take it away, destroy it, make it obvious that I shouldn't be doing this anymore.
Yeah.
And if like there's ever a situation where we have to choose family or ministry, we always have family win.
Yeah. And I think that, like you said, I think us doing things together is huge because when something matters to the spouse, like you want the other spouse to at least be invested in it. Maybe they don't actually do it with each other, but like to want to know about it and hear about it and like understand it, that just helps the spouse feel seen and known and loved, but then also like supported and encouraged. So by us having a very similar desire and like mission to do youth ministry and marriage prep ministry and stuff, we can talk about this a lot. Like it enhances our communication in our relationship because we're doing it together and understand why it's important to the other. Yeah.
And we're also like, and also in trying to like schedule things out too, being aware of how often we're scheduling. So like, for example, we are going to Alabama in a couple weeks for a situation.
For EWTN.
Are we allowed to say that? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what the so we're going to Alabama in a couple weeks for EWTN to record Life on the Rock over there. That'll be released in February. And then we're going to West Virginia in February for Together in Holiness.
Yep.
So we're going to be speaking
conference.
there.
Yeah.
And we were given opportunities to speak more often. And we declined. Like yes, they're paid gigs, you get money for it, but I don't like being away from my family.
Yeah.
So, and getting on planes. So that's easy. This is pretty. It's like
makes the decisions easier.
But having the discipline to say no to those things, and regardless of like, again, we're not doing this to be famous, so I don't really care that much. Like it's more of like if I have nothing to do, like we should do that.
Yeah.
But it's not like our family comes first, and
if we're feeling overstretched, then we're like, all right, this is the thing that gets put on the back burner.
Not saying don't hire us for things, guys. Just we'll decide. But just did I just shoot everything in the foot?
Maybe. Oh, that's all right. Yeah. So hopefully that answered the question.
No, I'm gonna just ramble. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Can you model a fake conversation of calling up versus calling out in marriage? What does that look like?
That's a good question.
Do you want to do it? Can you think of something that recently happened? Do we not have to like fake it?
Yes.
Well, we could like the situation, then we can.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. So there was a situation where I like set up something, and I'm trying to remember what it was. And you're like, I wish you hadn't done that.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Okay.
But that was a calling up?
I think so. I thought so.
Interesting. What, you wouldn't think that's just like a telling you?
I feel like that would have used to bring about an argument and shame in the past.
But that's different than calling.
I think part of it.
Interesting.
I think part of it is me understanding the difference between calling out and calling.
Okay, well that's interesting. All right. Okay, so then it's not that like I'm wording things differently, but more of you knowing my heart
and I'm
helps you understand that like I'm not just calling you out. Okay, so Monica, I remember this now, but I don't want to give details because it's been a stressful 48 hours. There's no back to your chair.
Now I remember.
You know where it is because I said that. Yeah.
Yes.
Context clues.
Yeah.
So I said so Monica set up a thing on a day where we could have nothing. So I love my wife, so I can say this. But Monica has a great way of having a day of rest and then filling it. And just and saying like, I'm so tired, I'm so stressed, I can't believe we have things going on. And then like you turn around like, we're doing this, then we're doing this, then we're doing this, and they're going swimming, and then 30 seconds later we have to turn around quickly and get them to jiu-jitsu, like just things like that. So and you planned something, and I said, can you not?
Yep.
And that was it. So like there's no special conversation.
Yeah.
It was just like, can you not do that, please? And it's because Monica knows my heart and how much I love her that I'm not calling her out on her. Like, I think it's actually wonderful that she does add things, because if it was up to me, I would do nothing and I would be sad all the time. So like her adding things is the reason why I have friends and I'm involved in the community and I, step out of the house. And so like I see the good in it. I'm being funny about it, but like I see the good in it. And she knows I see the good in it, so that when I bring up that kind of situation, she's not offended by it, because it's not like, oh, you hate the fact that I do X. It's more of like, I'm telling you how I feel, and hey, can you adjust this thing?
So I think like in a conversation setting, like the way that might be a call out instead of a call up would be things like, you always fill our days with things when you don't need to. Mm-hmm. And then kind of turn it back on you. You're like, I'm sick and tired of that, or like that really messes up my plans. And instead of a call, and like, again, it was a short conversation of like calling up, but it was like, can you please not do that? And that was like that little reminder of, we've talked about this before. So I knew what that meant. Like we had talked about, like, I know that you love doing things. I love that you love doing things, but sometimes we need, like, all the things that you just said, we've had those conversations before. Mm-hmm. So that little moment of, can you not do that, was a call up, because you didn't include like a whole bunch of shame sentences. Mm-hmm. And like,
I'm sure my tone was good, or better.
And better too. Like, it wasn't like, can you not do that? It was, can you not do that? And like, so there's a lot, it's kind of nuanced, but it's, because I know where that statement came from. Mm-hmm. It was a call up versus a call out. Mm. So it's like knowing your heart, knowing that you wanted the best for our family for that day, and you wanted the best for me for that day, and that's why you said what you said. Yeah.
I've also think I verbalized that. I say, in particular, just like this type of situation of adding things to the day. I've done it out of protection for you, because I know that you have the tendency to stretch yourself too thin and then just be exhausted and burn out. So like I've also been like, we've even got through this calendar and be like, okay, can you cancel this, because I see that you have these two things after. I think that'll be a lot for your transition. And I don't, or even it's things, also not, or even things like,
like inviting people over. I love having people at our house, but you're like, that's great, and yeah, technically we have time to have people over, but you know that you're going to rage clean for an hour before they come, so we don't have time for that, and you don't want to rage clean, like, and the house is falling apart right now, so this is probably not the best day.
Sorry, the rage cleaning is, sorry, not to call out your cleaning techniques.
I called it that first.
Yes, so, but I just wanted to affirm that.
All women know what I mean.
So this happened too, and this was a call up of, you started rage cleaning, and I said, hey babe, why are you rage cleaning right now? And then you like softened and you're like, I'm just stressed. Yeah, and then you stopped and you're like, I'm just gonna, okay. And so like, again, like in terms of a mock conversation, it doesn't seem like much, but because we've had conversations about you being overwhelmed and stressed, that I think that's how we know
where that root comes from. All right, let's see. Other questions.
I don't even know where we were.
This keeps bouncing. It's quite annoying. Okay, we did that.
Yep.
What? Okay.
Stickers was the next one. One of the greatest. I'm just gonna read things. Mm-hmm. Okay. If I hold,
it doesn't. Yeah.
I'll hold it. Let's just do this. One of the greatest appeals of this podcast in the beginning was very much so the pre-Cana aspect and topics you guys shared, especially for engaged couples. Is this something you guys foresee doing more of in next episodes. Interesting.
So like focusing on like engagement and pre-marriage, right? That's the question. Yeah.
So truthfully, my process for episodes, Monica has very little to do with like what we talk about. I do like once I have like I want to talk about this, I throw ideas out there and then she kind of gives me her feedback. But like the moment we get there, it's very much what is the Lord putting on our hearts, and then we kind of go from there. The podcast has kind of shifted to more just like standard marriage stuff because, at least in my opinion, I think we talked a lot about Pre-Cana, and I think that the things that we talk about in marriage could be things that people can talk about in Pre-Cana anyway.
Yeah.
Though maybe we need to be more explicit when we say that in our episodes. So for example, like the calling out, calling up is part of communication that you could start doing as an engaged couple, or a dating couple, of like because like learning to get into hard conversations so that you know each other's hearts a little bit better, so that you could call each other on certain things and not feel weird because you're doing that. I don't think that's a necessarily just married couple or just engaged couple thing.
Yeah.
And I do think a lot of the topics that we talk about is kind of, I think it's just applicable across the board in marital relationships and premarital relationships.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? But I think maybe we could frame it better so that people don't feel like we are forgetting the engaged.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. I think part of it too is that we have kind of felt that there's certain things about marriage that have seemed like this is a bad analogy, I guess, but like kind of like behind a paywall that like you can't know about these things until you're married, because we don't talk about them until you're married. And I think that's a lot of married couples get to that point and they're like, why did no one say this beforehand? So our hope sometimes too is when we talk about these marriage things that it's helpful to engaged couples, because now they're getting like a peek behind the curtain of like, this is something that could come, and you know, to be like aware and ready for it. Kind of like what you're saying with our friend that like they're ahead of the game because they're having these conversations way sooner than we did, and you know, some of our friends who've been married for a longer time have. Yeah. So, but that's I think that's a really great comment though, to make sure that we make it clear. Yeah, it's sorry. Piggybacking off one thing you said, like we've had a lot of married couples say things like, I wish I knew these things about sex before I got married, because all I was told before I got married was to not have sex, which is, I think I even did that on Instagram too. Like, just don't do it. But I guess like if you were to do a Pre-Cana show on sex, most people would just say like, just don't do it. Just wait until you get married. But I think the conversations we do have about sex are helpful for engaged couples, because like they're gonna end up having the same issues unless they start having conversations around it now. And I think because a lot of it doesn't have a lot to do with sex itself, but the surrounding intimacy. You were serious, and I was going to make a joke, and I withheld. Okay, excellent self-control. Yep, it's like a sneeze. Next one for Monica. Oh, fine. Well, my husband has ADHD. I understand why you're asking her, though. And I struggle with knowing which behaviors are a lack of virtue or a symptom of ADHD. Ooh, when do you extend mercy towards your spouse? When do you seek justice or keep him accountable? Oh, well, I'll just... okay, so I think that the big thing for me that came with your diagnosis of ADHD was the challenge to, one, understand what that actually means, like like what that means for your dopamine and the way your brain works, and like to try to really like understand what that means, and then how does that apply to you, and how does that apply to our life. It was kind of like trying to put all those pieces together. I think that we have to be very careful to not to one, recognize that ADHD is a disability, but that I guess You made it really big points of saying that.
That and my height.
Okay.
Poor wife.
But also to realize that like discipline and virtue are absolutely still like possible. Mm-hmm. It takes a lot more effort. It takes a lot more work. There have to be like strategies in place to try to help make that happen. But I think one thing that we've really tried is like, okay, these are certain goals that you have for yourself or that I would want for you to be able to do. And mm-hmm. then like put things in place of like, how can we try to achieve that? Mm-hmm. What things can I do to help, like, and to prompt and to remind? What things can you try to have in your routine so that becomes normal, or easier to do?
One thing that I think you've gotten better at since the diagnosis that I used to get really peeved about was that when I did do that, a lot of I know I do things that I know, but there was times where like what I was doing was not ADHD related. I was like, no, I actually have this point and I actually believe this is true. And you would in the beginning will attribute it to like, oh, it's just because you're ADHD. And like, no, I actually think this. I think this is right. It wasn't just me having an ADHD moment. And I think you've like
what?
Oh, not trying to make me think. Like if I react, or if I like forgot a thing, mm-hmm. or if I didn't do something, and you would just be like, it's because you're ADHD, you're forgetting, and you wouldn't word it that way, but I know that's what you're thinking, and you'd be like, no, I didn't do it because, and I actually had reasons for it.
Yeah.
There was a line where I would always have reasons for it, and now I understand, like, no, it's because I totally forgot. But there's sometimes where, like, no, I actually chose to do this instead because mm-hmm. I thought this was more important. Mm-hmm. It's not just me being forgetful. And I would get really annoyed when you would just, oh, he's just forgetful because he has ADHD. Yeah, no, sometimes I choose to do something else, and, like, I'm fully aware of my choice.
Yeah. So I think a lot of it came from, like, can you explain mm-hmm. why you did this the way that you did, so mm-hmm. that like I could have more insight into mm-hmm. the way that your brain works and the decisions that you make. So like that, like you explaining why you made a certain choice that maybe I attributed to that because it wouldn't have been the choice that I made, and it's like, oh no, that's just because you're mm-hmm. different than me and you make a choice that's different. Have you ever had somebody
say to you, like you say something to them and they're like, what? And they're like, and you say it louder, and like, you need to speak up, and you're like, I am speaking up. Does that make like? Have you ever had that? Like,
yeah,
you and I have this issue.
Yeah,
where like and I'm like, and it's like you make it seem like it's me not speaking up enough, and it's like I'm like, well, you're just not listening hard enough. Yes. Getting closer. Yeah. So like, I feel like it was kind of like that.
Yeah.
Of just like you're attributing it to something that's wrong with me, and I'm like, no, it's you, and it's just a back and forth.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that like I think deciding and thinking about the things that are like big deal stuff that like you need your husband to do, mm-hmm. and like how are we gonna have this happen, and then there's some things that it's like it's just not really a big deal, I don't know, and like let some of those things go.
Yeah, I think like
the cabinet's closing. I've just resigned that the cabinet's
you don't know if it's me or the kids. Don't. So Dr. Russell Barkley, he has a great YouTube channel. He is a longtime researcher, and I think he also treats people with ADHD or treated at mm-hmm. some point. He's got really good talks on YouTube on it, not just on his channel, which I think are worth listening to, just so you have a better insight. Lately, the latest video I heard from him. Sorry, he said, and I don't know if I believe this, but he said that ADHD was as severe as the major mental illnesses. I don't know if I believe that, but he was saying that like in terms of like a personality disorder, this ADHD can be just as devastating because there's just the way the brain works is so different, and to try to adapt to the way the world is now can be so difficult. Not saying that gives anybody an out, because along with that, I also listened to I haven't finished it, but the most recent podcast episode with Andrew Huberman and David Goggins. And Andrew Huberman, who's a researcher at Stanford, is interviewing David Goggins, who's like an extreme athlete. And hearing David Goggins starts really early, saying that he was diagnosed with ADHD at a really, really young age, and then hearing him explain how difficult things are for him. And I've said it before, and people have looked at me like I'm crazy, but I've said that like everything is hard for me. I don't feel like anything that I do is easy for me, unless it's like eating food I shouldn't be eating, right? Like if it is, what's it called when you, emotional eating. Yeah. What's it called when you emotionally are eating? Oh, emotional eating. Yeah. So like if it's emotional eating, I can do that with the best of them. But like anything else I do, getting to work on time, finishing work, working out, jiu-jitsu, loving my kids, being patient, like all those things don't just come naturally. And hearing him also say that, I'm like, oh yeah, so it's not just me. I feel like this is what I was like. So your husband, if he does, I don't know if this is a symptom of ADHD. I don't treat it, but I would, I'd research a little bit more. But if he does feel like he can't do certain things, I think the best approach would be to take it one thing at a time. Mm-hmm. So like, similarly with like young men who I've talked to that struggle with pornography, if they are struggling with pornography, like we do talk about like, things that you have to put in, so your phone, you're not using it in your phone, you're not going on the computer, but also like you need to clean your room. You need to go to bed on time. Like you need to start on little things that you can control, like that are going to be hard to do. Like making your bed is difficult, but you got to make your bed every day. Going to bed on time is difficult. You got to go to bed. You got to wake up at the same time. And like that'll take weeks. Like if you have a person with ADHD for some reason, I've read that waking up early in the morning is just terrible. And like you feel like a zombie and you're just not able to do it. And I know that. But it's possible. What I used to do is I would set an alarm. I'd want to wake up at 5 o'clock. I would set an alarm at 4 o'clock, 4:15, 4:30, 4:45, just to get up at 5. Like I had to do that in order, and now I can do it. Yeah. But like that took a year to be able to do.
I think one of the things that we've learned is that like by you having these things that you've done that are hard, mm-hmm. you're like, I know I can do this next hard thing. Mm-hmm. Because I did those other hard things. Yep. So it was like reframing and learning, like, I can do hard things because I do hard things. I can do hard things because I do hard things. And the more and it starts small, but mm-hmm. like, yeah.
And it may not be exercise for everybody, because like if a person with ADHD likes to run and is really good at running, if running is their emotional eating, then that's not gonna make them better. Like mm-hmm. they have to pick a difficult thing to do, and then that kind of, like Monica said, like re-emphasizes like you can do hard things, you can keep doing this. And that is the mantra in this house, because all of the children,
have a lot of people that don't like to do hard things,
and they're gonna compete at a tournament tomorrow, and it's gonna be great.
Thanks, Dees. They're excited about Life in Morocco.
What content are you guys planning to focus on in the future? We've been trying a variety of different discussion topics, reactions, interviews, focus topics, Q&A. I don't know if we will go back to interviews. Mostly, they're just hard.
They're hard to schedule, and then we can only really offer at night, which other mm-hmm. people like to sleep. In fairness, they're mm-hmm. allowed to do that.
And like the people we've had on have been great.
Yes.
And we've really enjoyed them. They're just hard to, we were getting to the point that some people that could do interviews with us were asking for like 2 in the afternoon, 1 in the afternoon, and I just can't swing that. Like Monica could interview on her own, but we opted not to do that. So we're just gonna take a break from it, and we might go back to that at some point. We're doing more reactions, honestly, because we were at a point where like there was so much busyness happening in the house that we're like, we can't plan out the episodes about we can't not plan out, but we can't have conversations that are energizing because it's late. So like if we could react to a video, it's a lot easier.
Start the conversation.
Yep.
I think too, like trying to have a variety, because we want to be careful not to just repeat what we've already said. Mm-hmm. So that a lot of it is saying this. It's like it has the same message, but we don't want to like verbatim just repeat the thing. So I think mixing it up helps with that. So.
At least I've seen other podcasts or YouTube channels feel like they have to get to like a very extreme version to keep people listening, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Right? If at some point we become irrelevant, that's fine. Like as long as people are having conversations, like the stuff will be up there. So like the reactions, it's easier to like, all right, the things that we've talked about before, how do they apply to this situation that we're seeing? So that might just keep happening because so one, it's easier to react to a video at 9-10 o'clock at night, mm-hmm. and also because we don't want to just keep repeating ourselves. I'm sure there's an episode about this already, but what are the top 3 pieces of advice you would give to a couple to help them commit to a better prayer life together? Follow-up advice to create a home that is really a domestic church. Ooh, prayer life. So as a couple, prayer life as a couple. Mm-hmm. one thing that helped us a lot was just saying one prayer a night, holding hands. I think Laura Phelps made fun of us for that.
Yes.
But like at some point in our marriage, we weren't praying it all together.
Yeah.
Like we'd go to mass together and that was about it. But we're going to say this prayer every night and that's it. And like that was a super low bar and we were able to clear it.
Yeah.
And we stuck to it. And then that built over time.
Right. Yeah. So then like adjusting that prayer, adding to that prayer, what other kind of things do we want to see? Go ahead. What?
You want
go?
No. So we started saying that prayer, and then we added prayers to that, and then so like the first prayer. Sorry, it was just the Hail Holy Queen. So it was nothing else. There was no intentions, no like praying over the person, no like hearing how your day was, none of that. Yeah. Because like that just seemed like that'd be so much to do.
Yeah.
And then we added a
deliverance prayer.
Oh, yeah, that's what we did. We added the other prayer first.
I think the deliverance prayer came
first. So we added deliverance prayer, and then we added more prayers, and then we started adding intentions. So like we built over time, and I think that's the best way to do it. So like one thing just becomes routine, and then once you do that, you start adding little things here and there. Yeah. And also one thing that a very holy priest said to me is like if you're starting to pray with your kids, like that counts as prayer too.
Yeah.
So like if you're praying as a family with your child, that counts as prayer. And it's funny because like I remember he was going to be my spiritual director, and then he was sent away far away to an oratory. But no one knows. But my first session with him, he asked me about my prayer life, and I told him my prayer life, and then I told him my prayer life with the kids, and he's like, "Why is that separate?" I'm like, "Oh, it's not. You're right." Yeah. So if you start incorporating that, I think keeping in mind that like if you're praying the rosary with your kids, like you're all praying the rosary, like that counts as couple prayer.
And your own prayer, like that counts as your own prayer.
Yeah. Well, though I would argue that it's necessary to try to have some alone time with Jesus.
And then follow up advice.
She asked her top 3 pieces. That was one
piece. I think that
don't be afraid to call your spouse up if they're trying to sleep. I think we've done that to each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's 2.
2.
One more.
Prayer life specifically. I think that we started sharing more frequently things that we felt or discerned that God was answering in prayer, or that like God was telling us in prayer, and just trying to be more open about that and like invite the other into like praying about that intention or
yeah, I mean that's what you do.
Okay.
Because you get a lot of intentions.
I guess so.
I was gonna make the joke, but it's not really a funny joke. But like you getting sick was a huge catalyst.
Yeah.
To like, oh, we got to pray together.
That's true.
So,
domestic church. How to advice for creating a domestic church. We had a great conversation with Dr. Popchak about that, which was good.
Catholic imagery everywhere.
Yeah.
What's the Popchak thing?
We had an episode with Dr.
No, I know. I'd like to say it.
Oh, he made a very big distinction that like a domestic church is not supposed to look like a monastery, like, and that it is louder and more chaotic, and there are way more interruptions, and it's messier, and like that is what a domestic church looks like. And that was really and his point was that Jesus is incarnational, like he came to live in a family, and he came into our reality, and so that he's proving that is holy ground with that. So that was very motivating. We have a whole bunch of holy art around our house, like it's just everywhere. If we ever have to sell it, we have to take everything off the walls. We talk about saints a lot. We have a lot of books around for the kids to read. We pray before meals. We pray for each other and each other's intentions.
But I think, like, to Popchak's thing, I think it's really easy to feel like the mundane, everyday life of being a parent is not holy.
Yeah.
And, like, not that you would, none of us would articulate it like that, but we would still feel like disciplining our kid because he choked his brother today. and then refuse to do his chores with the babysitter. Like, that doesn't feel like has anything to do with being a domestic church and holiness, but like that's exactly what Jesus was very present and incarnational in how he handled that situation with him, and went about, and then just with each individual kid and the way we handle each other, like all of that is incarnational, or has the opportunity to be. If we're handling it well and it's prayerful and with grace.
And like with the kids, between each other, like talking about being patient with one another and serving one another. We don't always use that, but like I know you don't want to do that for them right now, but you love them, so you should do it anyway. And that's for their good, and you're capable and they're not. Like if you're a big sibling and it's a little sibling, like you're capable and they're not. So it's kind of like it's almost your duty to serve them that way. It
doesn't sound like she just said it though. No. I'm changing Ben's diaper today, and Colby and I asked our oldest Colby to go help the other sibling, one of the other siblings or something, and he's like, I don't want to, and I didn't like yell. I have two different yellings. So there's like yell, angry yell, and then there's like coach yell.
There's like holler.
Like get in the paint, like that kind of yelling. So like I said, do you think I want to clean poop right now? I absolutely don't, but I'm doing it because I love him. Can you go help your brother, please? And then he'll just look at me, okay. So like that's how that sounds. Like, you need to go serve. It sounds like that. And I would argue that is very domestic churchy and incarnational of like we are called to serve. That's part of our lives. I wasn't angry with him. I was just like, just please go do it.
All right.
Hope that answered your question. What are your top 3
books for family life? Book recommendations for family.
The Bible. Soul of the Apostolate. I would absolutely recommend Soul of the Apostolate as one, because...
I think our recommendations are not actually books geared toward... Like, they don't have a family life in the title, but...
Yeah, Soul of the Apostolate, I think, because even the author, when he writes in there, he talks about the family being an apostolate, and I think we forget that. Like, we think back to like our balance in ministry, people feel like ministry is the things we do out there, but like our family life is ministry as well.
Yeah.
Also an apostolate, because ministry is an extension of what the priests do. Apostolates are not. They're like lay movements. But second book.
Be Healed.
Yes, I would agree.
And
because there's so much nonsense that I did, and you did too, but like mostly me, that came from woundedness.
Yeah.
That like healing and working on healing has helped a ton. But there must be like a marriage book. No.
Love and Responsibility?
No. I just, people wouldn't read that.
And then I like 7 Sacred Pauses. So it's...
Never read it.
I know. But, okay. I didn't finish Soul of the Apostolate. You talked to me a lot about it.
Michael Gormley, if you look up AMDG Gomer, he has like a full like series sessions, either like 7 sessions on Soul of the Apostolate as talks. So I think I would recommend listening to that.
Right.
What else?
More books? I don't know. I can't think right now.
One book that I liked for family life is... Oh, what's the book with Joe Ehrman? Shoot.
Seasons of Life.
Seasons of Life.
I was just gonna say.
I'd recommend Seasons of Life if you have a boy. I'd recommend reading Seasons of Life.
Yeah.
It was very good. It helped me understand how to, like, what my end is as a dad for my kids, of like teaching them how to love and serve others. Like, that helped me. It gave me the right language and framing for that. So I'd say those would be the 4.
All right. How do you not get defensive when you respond, and respond to defensiveness from your spouse when communicating? So how to not be defensive and how to respond to defensiveness. What do you have something? Your eyebrows are moving.
I'm eager to hear.
Oh, so one of the strategies that I've tried to use, because I can escalate and my pitch can raise and I can get very worked up. So one thing that we've used is, I'm not ready to talk about this right now. Can we talk about it later? Like, so it gives me time to like really think and digest about what you've said and not be so reactive.
Sorry. Yes.
So we've allowed for pauses in conversation. I have to say, I'll come back in an hour, or we'll talk about it after dinner, or like kind of give like a framework of when to make sure that we actually come back to this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we've allowed for pauses.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's evolved to the point now where if I say something like can you not do that? Either you just won't respond.
Yeah.
And like, I know that you're just noodling on it and that you're going to come back to it later. Yes. And like, you'll come back to it later. Like, yes. I don't need that. Like, I'll talk to you about it later.
Yeah.
Like, I know that that's going to happen now, but I think, it's funny. I don't know if I wouldn't say defensive. I get argumentative.
Yeah.
If you start if you call me out on something.
Call you up.
It's a way to.
Still working on it.
No, I'm kidding. No, yeah. So, but I think you taking space, because that also lets you process.
Yeah.
Because you need time to process, and yeah.
You know what I'm thinking is one of the things we've been working on with our daughter is she used to just like shut down when she needed to do something. She would just shut down, and now she'll just make that noise before she does something she doesn't want to do, but she still does it. And I think that some of it it's an evolution, it's a process, but like if you're working on something as a couple and you might not like what you're doing, but you still do it, you have to give your spouse the kudos of like, they're doing the thing they don't want to do right now, even though they're pouting about it or whatever. And you're just like, okay, that's progress. And like, you're not going to get to the perfect communication yet. Like, you're not going to get to where here we are, and we can't keep being defensive. So suddenly we're going to never be defensive again. Like, it's like how do we work to get there?
Because I think your defensiveness it's an impulse. Like, you're impulsive, like you feel it and you're like, what the heck, man? But then I think you're pausing and you're not talking because you're like, I don't want to respond differently.
Yes.
And I would say the same thing with my argumentativeness. Like, I will just not say anything.
Yeah.
And you're like, she's probably right. I know who I am.
Yeah. And if the other is trying to make a point, like, I don't know, just reminding yourself that you're actually on the same team. I love them. Yeah.
I swear.
I love them and they love me. So, yeah. I think that's
last one.
Yeah. It's very. Should I read the whole thing?
Read the whole thing.
Okay. Any advice on navigating long periods of abstinence due to a wife's fertility that results in very long fertile windows for us and very short infertile periods? Ooh. Sorry, it moves. She has been treated and there is nothing further that can be done to shorten them. We use NFP, a mix of methods, and are committed to being open to life, but it can feel like we have a big part of our relationship lacking for a great majority of every month while trying to avoid pregnancy. How do we accept this could be the reality of our sexual experience, our sexual relationship for the next 20 plus years in between pregnancies? Recommended content such as books, podcasts to help a husband prepare to welcome his first. Okay, so that's a different question. Sorry. Okay, so long periods of abstinence
suck.
They do, yeah.
But we've shared, like, we're at a point where we're avoiding because of health reasons, and that means did we tell, like, method wise what that means?
I think so, but in case you haven't heard it, so we use the Marquette method. So we use a monitor to help identify fertile window and peak, but also because of I have PCOS, so my cycles are very variable, and I've had cycles where I've ovulated on day 7, and I've had cycles where I've ovulated on day like 35.
57.
Like, a lot. Postpartum was definitely like 57. And we use phase 3 only because of how much my cycle varies, and because of our commitment to trying to avoid. We feel like we've discerned that pretty concretely at this point. Obviously, God can always change our prayers and change those answers, but I think one of the things that helps me, I don't know if this will help as a husband, but is continuing to like commit and remind and keep discerning like those reasons for avoiding. And for us, it's like, this is really, really serious and really important. So it's like, that's the greater good. And just like reminding that the greatest good for our family and for our relationship and for all the things is like sex is lower on that list. And so even though like physically that stinks,
Yeah.
Still working towards that greater good. I don't know.
I think also, at least for me, so like framing it from that perspective, I think also framing it as it's hard. I totally understand that it's difficult. And to think of like, oh, my marriage is going to be like this for the next 20 plus years. Like you think about the things you're missing out on, but I think framing it from her perspective of like, we have to for serious reasons is also like, I also remember like things I do get, and like I get to be with my wife, and just I love her. I love that she's around. Like we had health scares to the point that like there was times where I'm just like, I'm not sure, like just thinking about like, oh, she may not be here, and that was plenty scary for me. So like maybe that's why it's easier for me to not feel like upset about it, because I'm like, I'm happy she's around, because like the alternative is so much worse, right? So that's one thing. But like even taking that along, like you don't, and I don't want to say, because sex is a good thing for marriages, but you don't need it to have a good marriage that you both love each other, and especially like if you're able to once or twice during phase 3 towards the end, like I think that you can make that enough if you make those times like very special. Like maybe you do you do it up, you get a hotel, date nights, whatever, and like you make those really special times, and then the rest of the month, like you just enjoy the fact that you get to be married to this person, and that like God is giving you this person, and like because I think like in heaven you're gonna be with them, and sex isn't gonna be part of your relationship. Different theologians have different things of like the type of relationship you'll have in heaven will be unique, and you'll still love them fully and completely. And like I just feel like remembering that like sex is a part of our life here, but it's not part of our eternal life. And I think because the world can put it as such a big deal that like you feel like you're missing out on a lot, but like you're getting so much that focusing on the one aspect that you're missing is, I think it could be a miss. So I don't know if that's helpful.
One last piece I think is, I don't know, that I enjoy about our relationship at least, and like is yeah, actually, but like it's like in those times of abstinence, I'm reminded of how much I like you and love you.
Unless you're stressed about recording live.
And then I do not like you. But like just also like enjoy one another for like the things that you enjoy about them and like about them, and like do those things and talk, and I don't know, like be friends and be each other's favorite person, and that will enhance that experience when it comes around and when that time is available. But then it's also like, okay, but I also enjoy the time when we're not, because I enjoy you and I enjoy your company and the things that you do and the way that you are. Yep. Unless you're stressing me out about. I'm okay now. I feel better.
Last question.
All right. Last question that we have. Recommended content, books, podcasts to help a husband prepare to welcome his first child and learn to support his wife through pregnancy, postpartum, and new motherhood.
I don't know one. We do have a blog post about, I don't think it's fatherhood though. I think it's like postpartum depression. Yeah. I got in our blog post in tobecomefamily.com, you'll find a couple articles of like husband's guide to postpartum depression, husband's guide to NFP, husband's guide to one other thing. So like I wrote things, but I don't know if I don't know. That's I don't know. I mean, it's a need. Maybe we should write a book.
Maybe. I think that, yeah, I have to think about that, like specifics.
I would have loved that, because there was a lot of misfires for that too.
Yeah.
Especially the hormones. Things change, man.
Sorry. You're welcome. Fine. No. I don't know. That's a good question. I might have to come back to that one, because
So we'll try to find something.
Does it exist?
We'll try to find something and put it in. But so in our announcement, thank you. Oh, what did I do?
Sorry, you have to press chat. I just wanted,
So our announcement for today to close out the episode is what?
We are partnering with Ave Maria Press, and we will be writing a book, which we're really excited about. So thanks, Emma. Emma says yay. So we have a lot of work to do, but we're really excited and are grateful for everyone who listens to.
Are we allowed to say what the topic is?
I suppose so.
The Kama Sutra. Sorry. That. Keep going.
It's ruined.
It's not ruined.
Do you want to tell them what it's really about?
I did.
Okay. Well.
Are they gonna cancel the contract?
That's it.
No,
they take it back.
We're not allowed to give the
take it back.
We're not allowed to give the fake name.
Yeah, it's still pending.
But what is it about?
So we're gonna write a book about marital intimacy. So kind of some of the things that were brought up in our Q&A today. But yeah, so we're just really, when will it be released? So probably next spring, which is like,
yeah,
I'm like, wow, there's a lot that goes into actually writing a book. We self-published a book, and Renzo's ADHD went on like super fire, and then we put it on Amazon.
Oh,
but
and
like,
Katie helped a lot.
Katie, our editor, yes, that's true. But to really work with a publisher to actually make the book very good and high quality and marketed well, and all that stuff, there's a lot that goes into it. So we're learning a lot. But yeah, so we submit our
manuscript on June 1st, but then we're not going to be able to.
Then they go through a whole process a lot, and
the computer's dying, so Monica's getting the charger. So yeah, so they're going to go through a process. So it's going to be set to publish most likely spring 2025.
yeah.
But so we're actually going to try to do more behind the scenes of us writing and putting it together. But it's going to be very, hopefully the same tone of the podcast and just open conversation.
Yeah.
And stories.
Yeah.
Sorry
so
about the Kama Sutra joke.
That might actually make an appearance in the book. If
the joke?
you have any, yeah.
All right. But
jokes. But
thank you guys for being here for our live episode.
It wasn't empty.
No.
People came.
People came.
Thank you for being
People
here.
came to youth group. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Yeah. And yeah, so this will be released on Tuesday. Sorry, you already heard it.
Listen
to something else. If you could subscribe to YouTube, even if you're not on YouTube, just give us subscribers. And yeah, please rate the episode too. If you guys are not the episode, if you haven't rated the podcast yet on Apple, please do that.
Leave a review.
And
please still download this episode even though you're here tonight.
And we will see you at the next episode.
101.
Bye, everyone.